Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about something that I have been thinking about a lot since I have moved on a whole another country and in general growing up. I realized how it's kind of hard to make friends as we grow older, and even sometimes reconnecting with friendships that we have had in the past. I feel like we are all so busy with life and we are so focused on so many other things that we don't have enough time in the world to cherish good friendships, and most importantly to maintain them. Even though we do meet some people, especially if you're still in uni, it can be kind of hard to maintain those friendships. And it's so hard to live in a world where individualistic attributes are constantly rewarded, where we are asked to be more competitive with one another. So it can be very hard to cherish and form and even maintain these friendships with one another, right? So in this video, I hope we can talk about things that at least I have done and which really helps me to reconnect with my friends once in a while. And even though I am like countries away from them, I'm still able to talk to them and still know what's going on in their life. But it takes a lot of effort. So these are the things I did to make sure that I can still maintain the friendships in my life. So let's go. The first thing that I'm going to say is the most important one and can sound a little bit cliche, but it's to put an effort in friendships. It can be very hard to maintain that friendship if you don't put in that effort to do so. People can understand if you're putting in effort for them, right? And I understand can be hard, especially with your if you're working and if you're studying. It can be very hard to maintain that sort of consistency within your friendships. But if you need people to be around you, you have to show them that you love them enough to keep them around, right? I remember long back I read this one Instagram post. I don't remember the creator, but it was something along the lines of you have to be the friend you want desperately. If you want the friend who's ready for everything, who wants to go out all the time, we need to sit and think for a second, but am I that friend? Would if somebody else asked me to go with them or pick them from the airport, would I be the friend who would do that? You can only attract those kind of people into your life when you are that person in the first place. If you feel like you would be an amazing friend, think what kind of friend would you be, and think what are the kind of friends you need, and try to embody those attributes that you feel like you need in another person. So once you have that energy within you, I'm sure that you will also attract people who have those attributes. I remember I think I am a person who is a kind of a good listener, and I think I'm a good friend in those aspects, and I'm the kind of friend who is up for anything and who will go with you if you don't have anybody else to go with you. And luckily I have so many friends who embody those similar attributes, and I'm so grateful for them. But I think it's also because I am that kind of friend to them in the first place. So that's the number one thing. You have to put in the effort. The second thing is, I think it goes without saying, but being kind to especially people you meet in a new setting can be very hard. Even though you don't know them, it's good if you are a little bit more kinder to them. Maybe they are in that space where they feel so overwhelmed and they might seem a bit intimidating, but even then if you are kind to them, I think it can go a long way. Several studies have suggested that social exclusion feels the exact same way as physical pain. So if you are the kind of person who are able to give people that satisfaction of being included, I think that can go a very long way, because people remember those things. Because I remember those things, and I'm sure if somebody makes you feel warm and included in a whole new social setting, you would definitely remember them, right? So try to be that person even if you feel a little bit overwhelmed. If you are in a position to be able to go talk to somebody and give them two kind words, please do that, because next time when you see them it will be so much easier to reconnect with them, because they'll remember how kind you were the first time you met with them. So please do that. The next thing I'll say is a bit controversial, but I'm going to say it. It's that prioritize your friendships as much as you prioritize your romantic interests also. I understand it's totally two separate relationships, but if you are the kind of person who once they get a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they only go to them and they only talk to them and you don't give much value to your friends, and the only time you even go back to your friends is when you guys are spending some time apart or when you're fighting, that people can realize that when you're only putting an effort to see your other friends when your significant other is not available, then that's not pure friendship. Put as much consistency as into your friendships as you would do into romantic interest. I have this theory that often talk to this about to people also, that in society there's this hierarchy of it's romantic relationships always, and then your family and then your friends. Yeah, and obviously sometimes you need to prioritize those relationships completely. I completely agree, but it does not mean that one is literally below the other. It does not have to be. You can be consistent with your friendships, you can put effort into your friendships, and other people in your life are important too. You need to build a community. You can't just focus on your significant other to provide for all your needs, and I think that's not healthy at all, and it can really affect your relationship in the long term if you feel and focus on one person, because obviously they are a whole different person from you. They can't give you all your needs, they can't satisfy all the needs you might have. You need a community around you for that, and it's not your significant other's responsibility to make sure that you have other community. It's your responsibility. So you need to put in the effort for your friendships as much as you put in effort for your romantic interests also. I hope what I say makes sense, because most people often, when I say this thing that, oh, you mean that we don't have to prioritize our romantic interests and it's two relationships and it's separate? I agree, it's two separate things, but your friends shouldn't be the backup option for your significant other. Does that make sense? So make sure that you give as much as effort and prioritize your friendships as much as you would for somebody you really love, because your friendships require that love too. I think the next thing I would say is show them gratitude every time your friends, even if they do small things, that even if they check up on you, or big things such as picking you up from somewhere or helping you through a very tough part of your life, anything like that, show them how grateful you are for them. And it can seem a bit awkward, especially if you're really good friends. It can be awkward to say, oh, thank you for that. And especially if you are from a culture where thank you is considered as a formal sort of thing, it can be a bit awkward, but gratitude does go a long way. Tell them how much it means to you, tell them how much their presence in your life means to them, because sometimes we don't often hear that enough. Sometimes people can feel like their effort is not being reciprocated, so it will be so much easier for them to keep track of it if somebody tells them how good they are and how much they value their presence in their life. So please do that. Tell your friends how grateful you are for them, because whenever my friends tell me something, and so whenever they tell me that they are grateful for me after something, it makes me feel so good, because I realize it, because it's also a reminder for me that this friendship is very important, and it's more than just randomly talking to each other. It really helps you to go through that mundanity or that vulnerable and hard part of your life, and there is somebody for you. And to be a person like that for my friend is such an honor. So I am so grateful every time my friends say how much I mean to them. So do that for your friends also. They would love that. Trust me, they would love that. The next thing is be open and honest with your feelings and emotions with your friends. I used to do this thing where I'll only say certain parts of my life to them, and then I'll hide certain parts, and but it kind of hinders your friendships with people. And I can understand it. Some people, we have trust issues, some people do have trust issues, and it can be very hard to be vulnerable with people. And there's often that annoying little voice in your head which asks, but what if they tell somebody else, or what if, what if they don't understand? And those are all very real possibilities, and that might happen also. But the whole point of life is to give chances to people. It's being able to being open with the knowing that it might go wrong, but you're still choosing to trust them. And if they decide to break it, that's not on you, that's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility to constantly keep track whether they would do something that puts you in the harm's way. And it can be very frustrating, but if you can only create good vulnerable friendships with trusting them, with taking that leap of faith. So being honest and vulnerable about your feelings will also help them to be more honest and vulnerable with you, and it can create such a deeper connection. And with that being said, you should also make sure that you accept and respect their boundaries also. Don't push them to tell you something that they don't want to tell you yet, and still letting them know that if there is something, you will be there for them, even if they don't tell you what it is. To know that they can count on you no matter what, that can be such a good way to reconnect in friendships. Because since I am here, I'm in Italy, and most of my friends are in India, it can be very hard for me to sometimes know what's going on in their lives. But I'm happy to say that I at least think that I have created that space where they can come to me anytime, even if we haven't talked in a while. If they're going through something, they can call me or they can connect with me to tell me what's going on in their lives. To have that space is so beautiful. So being able to create that space with your friends, I think that requires a lot of effort, and I think that requires a lot of consistency in the sense that you have to keep showing up for your friends until they believe that they can be vulnerable with you. And by that time, you should also respect their boundaries, that they might sometimes not tell you what's going on, and you should be okay with the fact that they might not tell you what's going on, or they might say that they don't want to hang out with you, or they're going through some things. But even then, being that friend who is like, oh, I'll be here for you no matter what. That's because if I know that I would love that friend. And if you are that friend to somebody else, trust me, they will be that friend towards you also. And everybody needs that friend, right? I think another important aspect is that in friendships, I often see that people, the minute, especially if you're very close, the minute somebody does something wrong or something that you don't really like, so many people kind of entirely cuts off the friendships, and after years they're like, but I didn't have to exactly cut them off. I think the most important part of building a community or being with your friends or reconnecting and maintaining your friendships is the fact that you have to be willing to forgive people and give them the chance to be better people. I'm not saying that you have to endure whatever they do to you, but it's about telling them that what they did really hurt you, and if they are really apologetic, giving them chance to be better in the future. Because if we are in love with somebody, I know for a fact that we would do that, because a really good relationship involves a lot of forgiveness. But so why can't we extend that same kind of warmth and acceptance to our friendships also? So whenever your friend does something that kind of bothers you, talk to them about it rather than completely cutting them off or being passive aggressive about it. Being able to reach that point where both of you can acknowledge what went wrong and being able to move forward is so much better than just cutting them off and years later regretting the fact that you lost a really good friendship because you, at that point of time, you were not ready to forgive them. So I think that can really help, being able to talk to them in a better position and being able to give them that space or take your space but also letting them know that they still have the chance to be a better person with you in your friendships. I think that can really help. And another slight thing I would say is check in on your friends very often. And even if it's small talk, I know it can be a bit annoying because, hey, how are you? And sometimes there's nothing to say. But knowing that your friends actually care about you, especially when, and you don't know what people are going through. So getting that how are you text might actually really help somebody to know that somebody actually cares about them. So check in often on your friends and see what they are up to. Even if it's small talk, endure that small talk just to see how they're doing, because that can really help somebody. I know for a fact that it really helps me, so I'm sure that it really help other people too. So please do that. And the final thing I want to say, and I think this is something that I am learning constantly, is that people are your friends, especially are your inspiration, not your competition. I was often rewarded for being competitive, in the sense that especially in the academic setting, and like, everywhere in job markets, everywhere you do in our community, there's generally this essence of, oh, you have to be competitive, you have to be individualistic, you have to see whether you are better than somebody else. It's often we are rewarded for that. So, but to know that your friends are your inspiration, being part of a community who everybody does really well, and where you support each other and where you can help each other in any way possible, can literally elevate your entire social and lifestyle standing. There, you can't grow alone. It's a fact. You can't grow alone. How much ever you try, without a support system, you can't do it all alone. So being with your friends and being that, seeing them as your inspiration and seeing how much they have grown, and being able to be happy for them, instead of seeing them as a competition, and understanding that there is enough to go around. There is no scarcity here. There is enough to go around, even if you don't feel that way right now. There is so much to go around, and each and every one of us has a unique path to follow. So they might have something that you don't, and you might have something that they don't have. So knowing that everybody is in their unique path, and knowing that we all have more than enough in this world to go around, and there is no scarcity here, and universe takes care of all of us, can really be helpful, especially if you're coming from a standpoint of they are my inspiration, not my competition. So seeing your community as a source of love and warmth and support, rather than something you have to prove, can be a really better way to reconnect with friends, because your entire energy changes, because you are no longer focused on their achievements, or you're no longer focused on what they are doing or what they are not doing, but you're rather focused on who they are as a person, and how can you be of support for them, and how can you aid in their growth. And that energy literally shifts in that relationship, and it can be so much good when you're trying to build that community for yourself. So these are the things I did, which has really helped me to find some really good friends, and I hope to make even more friends, and trying to put in even more effort to reconnect with my other friends. So, and let me know what you think. I would love to know about all of you too. So let me know in the comment section what you think about the video. Please like the video if you like it, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys.